Welcome to this class. Thank you for joining us in our series on a revelation of hell. We're discussing the true doctrine of hell, whether or not it's in the Bible or not. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday night at 7 p.m. for these classes. We look forward to having you, and God bless you as we start. Good morning. Welcome to our 10-minute topic subject teaching this morning. We'll be teaching on the rich man and Lazarus. And we're going to try to do it in 10 minutes. Okay? Now, I will not be able to cover the entire topic, but I will. This is a presentation that is for ministers and Bible college students, people who have a certain amount of Bible background. And so we're going to go through it, and it is designed for you to trigger you and to point you in different directions of studies to confirm what we say in the 10 minutes. And today, this is a part of the lesson of the study on hell, and we're going to talk about the rich man and Lazarus. The rich man and Lazarus is claimed to be teaching about people going to hell and burning in fire. What we have discovered, and what I'm presenting this morning, that the rich man and Lazarus is not about people going to hell and burning in fire. Number one, because that was not the doctrine of the Jews at the time that Jesus was specifically speaking this parable to. It was not the doctrine of Jesus. That was the doctrine of the philosophers, Plato and Aristotle and all of those, and Augustine and all of those. That was a doctrine that we come to the text within the back of our minds. Now, the rich man and Lazarus is a parable. It is not a historical story. It is a parable of Jesus that he's telling. And there are certain things in the parable that are not true to life, so to speak, because parables are often told with things that are not true to life in them, but they are told and used as a lesson. For example, in the story of the rich man and Lazarus, rich man dies, Lazarus dies. Lazarus goes directly to Abraham's bosom. The rich man opens his eyes up in death. The word hell there, it means death. And he sees Lazarus afar off in Abraham's bosom. First of all, in the Old Testament, in the time Jesus taught, everyone who died went to the grave. Everyone who died was buried, the righteous as well as the wicked. So that's against that teaching. Because in all the passages in the Bible, they both go to the grave. The word Sheol means grave, common grave of the righteous and the wicked. So Lazarus does not pass going to. And secondly, Lazarus did not go before God and went to the judgment, as the Bible teaches that appointed on the man wants to die, and after that the judgment. Judgment does not occur immediately after death. Judgment occurs on the end. So this is not a scene of the judgment of both of the men. We find the Lazarus in the bosom of Abraham. If you notice, he did not go to God, as if some people teach that he went to God and then the rich man went to hell. The rich man was not in hell. Let's find out, why was it that Lazarus went to the bosom of Abraham? Was it, if you say that it was heaven, like they teach this thing erroneously, then you're saying that a man just goes to heaven just because he's poor? That's the teaching that's come from this, that the poor go to heaven just because they're poor. So this is not teaching about heaven and hell, and the poor don't just go to heaven because they're poor. He did not go to heaven. This was a lesson that Jesus was teaching to the Jews, and the lesson was strictly to the Jews. How do we know that? Because he said he went to Abraham's bosom. Abraham is a symbol of the Judaism, a symbol of the Jews, a symbol of the heritage of the Jews, the symbol of the inheritance of the Jews. So then Abraham here represents the Jews and their place of their promises and all that God promised them. And then the rich man represents the Jews who had all of those things that were in the Abrahamic covenant. And so they're called rich here. The rich man is called rich because they were loaded with all of those promises and the covenants and everything God gave them, the commandments and everything the Jews had. Those were the riches that were being spoken of here. So then the gulf that's fixed was the distance. What actually happens is that the Lazarus goes to the bosom of Abraham. Pardon me, Lazarus, who's goes to the bosom of Abraham. Lazarus represents the poor, the Gentiles, who did not have all the riches of the Jews, and he is now in the place of favor of the of what that was originally belonged to, that had originally belonged to the Jews. And so the Jews are the sons of Abraham. And as far as their inheritance is concerned, that's the reason why when the rich man opens up his eyes, the Pharisees, the Jews, opens up their eyes, they see Lazarus, the Gentiles, the detestable Gentiles, the heathens, in the bosom of Abraham, in the place of favor. This was written by Luke, who was showing that the place of the Gentiles will be switched with that place of the Jews, and that's the way they're going to end up, because the Jews don't appreciate their place. So it's a parable. So death is used, the both of the men dying is used to make a point about bringing some consciousness to their statuses and the statuses that they will be in coming up. So this is maybe the reason why Jesus used death here to say, okay, that in the final analysis of all things in history and in all of the things that God has coming on the schedule of history, the church wasn't born then, like the church where the Gentiles are going to be in it. So the dying is used by Jesus to say that on the end, or at the end of all things, this is the way it's going to end up. And so the dying brings us to the point that this is the way it's going to end up. What's going to happen to the Jews that rejected Jesus in his day, that rejected God, who did not value their place? He's speaking corporately to the Jews here. See, his audience is the Pharisees and the Jews. And so what he's saying, in the final analysis of things, you Pharisees, you all are going to end up outside, and the Gentiles that you hate so badly are going to be on the inside. And when you look and when you wake up and you see on the end in history, when you look and you see that the Gentiles that you hated so bad are in the bosom of Abraham, receiving all of the promises that belong to you, the pain is going to be so bad, it's going to be like you're in a flame. And that's the reason why when he says that he woke up in death, but that death, the word hell there, in the original text was death, Hades. So the Hades is the end. Then the flame that he talks about is not connected with the Hades idea. The Hades idea is the death, the final analysis, or how you're going to end up. That's the death of the Jews and the situation. The Hades, or the fire, pardon me, the flame, just the one flame, is the suffering of the final analysis, of the final situation, the suffering and the grief and the remorse of them being out, of them having a gulf between them and Abraham, not between individual Jews and God. This is not about that. This is about the corporate status of the Jews that Jesus was talking about, because he only spoke to the Jews. So now here we see that there now is a gulf here in the final analysis. What Jesus was speaking to them in this parable, you guys are going to be so far away from where you really should have been and where you were, and it's going to be like a pain, a fire, like a flame, and the torment. He says, I'm tortured in this flame. That word torture or torment there was a Greek word barbazo, which meant an emotional pain. It was not a pain like a person get burned with fire and they're burning in fire. Next fact is that if he actually was burned in fire, he wouldn't be able to talk to Abraham. So it's not no literal fire we're talking about here. He's talking about the flame. You may have to rerun this and listen to what I'm saying again. The flame is the grief and the remorse of the situation of being so far from Abraham and looking at the Jews and the Gentiles in their place instead of them. And the hell part, but that word hell there does not mean hell. It meant the grave. It meant the death, the part that was the finality part of it, that brought them to be able to look at the summation of all and to look at how the situation changed, where the Gentiles are now in the bosom of Abraham, and through the church probably. The church is mostly Gentiles because the Jews rejected their opportunity. So for that reason, we say that this is a parable. It is not a historical teaching. It's a parable. And so in the parable, Jesus puts Abraham there. If he was talking about life after death and heaven and hell, Abraham wouldn't have been there. It would have been God there. Because we all know that according to the Jewish teachings, that the dead don't know anything. And so Abraham doesn't know anything. He's not working in the afterlife receiving people. So that was just a lesson to the Jews. The story of the rich man and Lazarus is not about heaven and hell. It is about the displacement of the Jews when the author who God had used to write it, Luke, wrote it. He was intending to show the swap that would occur between the Jews who were in the honored place and the Gentiles who were dishonored and poor, who would end up in the bosom of Abraham when the Jews would be outside with great remorse and great sorrow. And this is the way it's going to go, is what Jesus was saying to those Jews. You're going to be out. The Gentiles are going to be in. You had everything in the riches of the law and everything like that. If you notice in the parable, Abraham said, you have Moses, you have the law, you have all of that. And now you cannot change that unchangeable status. And so Abraham calls him son because they are the Jews. It's the same thing that Jesus talked about in Matthew 8:13 when he said the sons of the kingdom are going to be cast into outer darkness. The same thing, the sons of the kingdom shall be cast. He's talking about the Jews. And he talked about how the Gentiles in that particular chapter, Matthew 8, how the Gentiles came to him and got the great blessing of healing. He said he hadn't seen all of this face in all Israel. He was comparing the Jews to the Gentiles. And he called the Jews the sons of the kingdom. The sons of the kingdom is the same as the rich man. They are the sons of the kingdom that have this. The same thing that was said in Matthew 22, I believe 22:13 or somewhere down in there, where the sons of the kingdom were thrown out of the wedding feast. The wedding feast was the riches of all that the Jews had, but they were thrown outside into outer darkness. And so the rich man and Lazarus is about that same concept, outer darkness, where they're outside, and the remorse and the torment is the same, expressed by the weeping and gnashing of teeth, which is in Matthew 8, Matthew 22. The weeping and gnashing of teeth is the remorse of the Jews for the loss of their place. Thank you very much. I've talked to you about the rich man and Lazarus. I hope you have enough to go ahead and research what I'm saying. And God bless you. And thank you for our 10-minute effort to do it. We did it in 12 minutes, 13 minutes, but at least we tried. And we try to do this because people are busy, but people can get a lot out of this. God bless you and thank you for listening in on our story of the rich man and Lazarus, and why we say that you can't teach hell from the story of the rich man and Lazarus. You can't do that. This is another lesson in the revelation of hell. God bless you. Get the book for this series, Origins and Sources of Hell, by Dr. Lawrence Brown Jr. We cover all of the scriptures in the Bible that are claimed to be used as scriptures to support the doctrine of hell. Join us, get the book, and you'll see why we say that hell is from Plato.